Hello everybody, I'm SB, and I wanted to bring you my Week 5 coverage of the Astercord Draft League 2. This week, I was up against Swag, who had one of the most unorthodox yet threatening teams in the league. He had some of the strongest physical and special sweepers in the game, like Ursaluna, Hisuian Arcanine, Sharpness Gallade, and Toxtricity, paired with support from Pokemon like Forretress and Screamtail, and that made this matchup very scary going in, because his Pokemon can easily cleave through mine just with raw power. So, going into game 1, I led Muck because Muck doesn't really have any bad leads, and I go for Flamethrower. Flamethrower is here for Forretress, just because Forretress kind of gives me a hard time. It's hard to keep it low. So that Flamethrower just doing 85% turn 1 is big, because that means that Forretress is going to have a hard time doing anything like setting up hazards later in the game. So he Volt Switches out into Ursaluna, and I don't see a Flame Orb activate at all. So I'm like, I want to know what's going on here. So I attempt to go for Knockoff, because both Muck and Ursaluna have the same speed tier, and I have 124 speed EVs on my Muck. So I'm like, I'll probably be faster, but this Ursaluna was even faster and just knocks out Muck with Headlong Rush. All of a sudden, Toxtricity got way scarier. So immediately, things aren't great. But I did get some useful information. So I go into the man, the myth, the legend, Toby Fox himself, with an air balloon. He just eats hits from Ursaluna for days. So he goes Fortress, and just to scout, I use Charm here because Will-O-Wisping a Guts Ursaluna doesn't do anything but hurt me. So I use Charm instead. He goes Fortress on the Charm, so I just go Diancie as an opportunity to get up hazards and potentially knock it out with an Earth Power. He Volt Switches out yet again into Gallade, which is a very big threat, but I had my Dozo kitted out specifically to help for the Gallade matchup. Rocky Helmet is doing really good damage to it, and he ends up switching out, as I just rest up to keep my Dondozo healthy for subsequent attacks from Pokemon like Arcanine and Gallade. He sets up some spikes here as I attempt to get some chip off by sleep talking an attack. I had 2 attacks. And the second time around I do get liquidation, which is good, keeping Fortress at low HP. And after I see that he's setting up this many hazards, I'm like, okay, I need to start spinning these away. So I go into Sarina, undo the last 4 turns, as he does get a little bit of momentum with Volt Switch. But that was a trade that I was okay with making. He goes into Screamtail here, and offensive Sarina Power Whip just does a disgustingly large amount of damage. Like, it doesn't have a single reason to be doing that, and that roll was evil. Screamtail is still alive, but it still dies to Spike's chip, so it's not a bad situation. I expected a Protect, so I went for Reflect on this turn, and instead he just goes hard into Toxtricity. So, just attempting to scout, I go Diancie, and that Sludge Bomb does 51%, which unfortunately means that my Diancie does get KO'd on the switch-in, but it's very big for me, because it just revealed that it is Specs Toxtricity, and knowing that it's Specs Toxtricity means that I can exploit that, as you'll see later. So, Sludge Bomb finishes off Diancie, but Diancie got the spike up, which is all you needed it to do, and I go Jugulis. I attempt to Terra Ground Earth Power, but he sacrifices Screamtail to the spikes damage and brings back in Ursaluna. But yet again, I have Toby Fox, as he reveals Protect. I was not expecting Protect in the slightest. I just wanted to bring in my guaranteed counter, and the spikes damage eats into Fortress. Body Press gets its first knockout. Swag sent in Toxtricity, and because I know that this Toxtricity is Specs, it creates this mind game, because my Jugulis is a ground type and my Houndstone is a ghost type. Toby Fox resists both normal and poison as a ghost type, and Jugulis resists ground. So I basically made the calculated trade. Okay, if he goes for Overdrive, I'll still be alive, and I can just go Jugulis next turn and get my damage and /or a kill. So I stay in here, Shadow Sneak, as he Boom Bursts. That is very big for me, because he has to switch out, otherwise he can't touch me. And the spikes and the body press is doing so much damage, Shadow Sneak finishes off Gallade. Toxtricity comes back in, and this time I just go Serena because it's a safer play to make. I could have gone hard Jugulus, but I didn't want to take any big risks with Jugulus since it's my win condition. Power Whip does a lot of damage to Arcanine as I just sacrifice again just to bring in... I want to bring in Toby Fox just to get another kill. Yeah, I just had to Toby Fox on them. I sacrificed Dozo here to see what move it locks into as I go Jugulus, which threatens the Earth Power. Spike eats away at Ursaluna again, and it's just in Earth Power range. And because he revealed Protect earlier, I'm like, okay, he's going to Protect to get himself out of Earth Power range. So, on the Protect turn, I'm just going to go hard into Toby Fox, and I got that correct. Which means that now he's in a catch-22. The spikes and the body press means that there's no escaping this. Shadow Sneak finishes off Toxtricity, and I take game 1. Game 2, he leads Scream Tail as I lead Diancie, trying to get hazards up earlier, as he just goes for Thunder Wave to try and get speed on his side. He goes hard Gallade as I go hard Muck, and I just wanted to throw off a knockoff just because it does so much damage. And knocking off Screamtail's leftovers makes it a lot worse, which is good for me. Poison Fang here. The reasoning behind Poison Fang is that I was Assault Vest Muck, so I can't use Toxic. So Poison Fang plus Poison Touch creates a 65% chance of poisoning the opponent, 50% badly poisoned, 15% regular poison, which is very, very good. So Poison Fang, now Screamtail's on a timer, and it's not really doing anything, so he just sacrifices it. I knock off there just because there are less knockoff switch-ins than there are Poison Fang switch-ins. So he goes Toxtricity here, but my Assault Vest Muck was made to match up well into Toxtricity, so I knock off its Specs, which is huge, and this turn, I use a Mud Shot. So, knockoff normally doesn't 2-hit KO Toxtricity, but with my investment, Mud Shot barely 2-hit KOs it, and he went Arcanine there, possibly predicting a switch of sorts. So, I just Mud Shot, quad effective, and with the spikes, Arcanine's already at half health, which is very big for me. So, I just go Dozo, because Dozo is made to just eat hits from Arcanine. I had a feeling it would just tear a rock here to knock me out, but it ends up missing, which is big for me, because that lets me heal back up as he switches out into Toxtricity. I Sleep Talk here, get a little bit of chip with Body Press, and I go back into Muck. Now, Muck is getting very low at this point, so there's not much it can do after this. It brings in Ursaluna, as I unfortunately get paralyzed, I don't get to knock it off. And this turn, I stay in with my Muck and I use Knockoff. My reasoning there was that Muck isn't going to be able to come back in on Toxtricity to tank hits, so there's no point in really preserving it. And if my opponent tries to make an aggressive double switch to gain more momentum on my switch out, then I can punish that very hard with a knockoff. As you can see, he went Gallade and took a large amount of health, and now he's in Toby Fox range. Aqua Cutter knocks out my Muck, but Jugulus just comes back in. I wanted to click Flamethrower there just so that Fortress couldn't get any ideas. I wasn't sure if Flamethrower killed here, so I just went Dozo, as Arcanine unfortunately misses a head smash. I had Rocky Helmet here, meaning that if it did connect, it would have knocked me out, and I didn't need Dozo for any of his other Pokemon. But it was just Salt in the Wound at that point, and he misses another head smash as I pull an attack with Sleep Talk. So, a little bit of good luck there, but at the same time, my Rocky Helmet meant that I would have lived, and I would have taken it out, and either way, I just want to sacrifice Dondozo, because I just wanted to play it safe. I go Diancie here because I know Diancie can take a hit, and I just Earth Power for the kill. Ursaluna comes in, but I just double into Toby Fox because it's very safe, because he hasn't revealed a single move that can threaten me. And now I get to double into Jugulus. Volt Switch is a good chunk, and he goes into Ursaluna. Here, at this point, I had a very, very, very good board state. As long as I kept Jugulus alive, I could never lose to Fortress. So I was feeling very good, but I decided to go I went a little crazy with this. Let's just say. I used Hydro Pump on my Jugulus. I wanted that to kill so badly. I don't know why it didn't kill. My calcs were saying that it was doing around like, I think it was 70 to 80%, so maybe it was just a low roll. I really wanted that Hydro Pump to kill. But either way, not Guts boosted, Facade gives me health on Jugulus, and I just sacrificed Diancie here. Because I don't need to keep Diancie around anymore. I got my Spike up, and I just need another opportunity to get in one of my Pokemon. Here, I go back into
Toby Fox.
And I threaten the Body Press. He protects for a little bit of leftovers recovery, but again, I'm just chipping away at it. To play it safe here, I went Sarina, and he Volt Switches. That Volt Switch is very big for me, and I don't think it's possible to lose in this position unless I play very, very poorly. But I wanted to just do a little style, do it for the crowd. So on the Protect, I set up a Reflect with my Sarina. That was absolutely not necessary, but I just wanted to use Reflect Sarina, and yeah, knowing that Fortress with just Volt Switch wasn't going to be able to break through my team, he forfeits, and I win week 5, bringing me up to 5-0. So, next week is a very big week for me, because if I win this next week, then I'm making it into playoffs. So, that's what I'm shooting for, and I'll see you next week. Bye.